Mars is where you are the cheater. Notice how I played off of cheater, not cheetah, but Mars in your chart is where you're a cheetah. Though the idea of a cheater and a cheetah are very similar in this concept of Mars because there is no real intimate bond with someone else that you need to make in order to win. And if you're manifesting with Mars, it's great if you are wanting to go at it alone, wanting to kind of not need anyone else because it's a cheater or a cheetah. It's kind of moving fast no matter what. Getting fast at something and moving at a very fast pace. Mars is trying to get from one point to another as fast as it can and wants to avoid all of the extra that we add to things. Mars wants to conquer and dominate as fast as it can. And so where Mars is where you are a cheater. So Mars is where you want to be a cheetah, not a cheater. But Mars is both a cheetah and a cheater. And so, with the concept of Mars is how you win, we understand that there is a game that you're playing. Every Mars has its own arena, a competitive sport that it is playing, right? Now, cheaters typically are the ones who are going to try to cheat the game. So, they actually try to win but lose, right? Though a cheetah goes faster than everybody and wins. Okay, so that is the key. And this is how I also tie this into sexuality, reinforcing that Mars is connected to our sexuality and our sexual identity specifically, how sexy we see ourselves. And when I say sexuality, I mean your sexual identity, okay, which ties into the idea to win. So your sexuality has a lot to do with winning. And that is a very essential thing to understand. Now, going back to the idea of a cheater, which often can be kind of distorted, and we can put the cheater on a pedestal as if they have a very big appetite, that there's just not enough. Especially in the sexual games, right? In the game of sex, so the cheater in a relationship wants more. And so they can actually power play as being the one with more sexual power. But that's a distortion because the cheater is distracted from the win. They are not winning the game. They're not winning. They are not winning. So in understanding your sexuality and your sexual identity, you also are understanding that you are a cheetah, that you're not a cheater. Your sexual energy is not being thwarted off, misdirected, and reacting to that misdirection. You're not a cheater trying to win the game and then losing. You're a cheetah who is going to win the game. So in part 2, we are going to go through Mars placements, and we are going to add on this new formula called going faster, which is Mars is where you're a cheater. So let's take a look at Mars in the 5th house or in Leo, in which to go faster is to utilize your most natural strengths and talents. This is something that people often forget about because in a competition, you're more than likely also trying to enhance yourself and work on your weaknesses. But when you have Mars in the 5th or in Leo, you win by leaning on your natural strengths and talents. This is going to give you a sense of confidence that puts you above everyone else naturally. And your biggest thing is that you may find yourself not feeling like you can be competitive for only one reason, and that's if someone seems to be getting more attention than you. So the key here is to not be intimidated by that and to also recognize that that may be the trigger itself. Then once you do that, you're able to lock in on some of the formulas for your Mars placements that will make things even more fun with manifesting. For example, you can take the Venus blueprint, which is how you dress according to your zodiac sign, and put it into Mars. So you can dress like a Leo. This ultimately means you need to brighten up your colors to enhance that energy that is dormant in you. And you also want to lean in on golds and champagnes, colors of the suns and yellows. And if this is not your natural, warm color energy, you can add accents and things like that just to spice things up. You also want to consider fitness as a part of your Mars formula, which we do go into on the worksheets. And for Mars and Leo, of course, it's anything that gets your heart going and feeling good. Most likely things like house dancing, cardio, step dancing, Zumba, anything that has you dancing and moving is going to be the greatest workout. And if you're able to be around people, be front and center. Utilizing and manifesting with your Mars is going to make you go faster. Now, if you're not the type to go faster, let's say you have more Taurus placements, then this is where, the manifesting really begins. You start to add these elements in according to the pace of your own natural self, and you're able to find that you can move in the direction that helps you out. So this also does mean that knowing your chart and going more intricately in your Mars aspects will also be important. So if you'd like to do any phone sessions with me privately, you can check the links down below, and you can also check down below to download your own Mars worksheets and get all of the formulas that I've created for you. If you have Mars in the sixth house or Mars in Virgo, then you're here to be the best and be the fastest at winning when it comes to utilizing your techniques, your work ethic, your routines, the techniques you use in your routines. This is what makes you faster. This is what makes you fast like a cheetah. And in the sixth house, competence is so important in order for you to have that confidence to get the hard stuff done, because the sixth house is connected to all of the things that we don't really like to do. The paying attention to details, the chores, all of the little intricacies that, when perfected, make things 100 times better. All of the little tidbits, all of the little details that make things matter. This is the area of the chart that most people don't want to deal with unless they have heavy sixth or Virgo placements. But Mars here, it makes this negative. So remembering that it's already a house of disharmony in the sixth house, Mars being a negative energy itself. Negative not meaning bad, but negative meaning expressing its differences. In this arena, if you do not feel like you are winning, you could be almost insufferable. Okay. Because this is a placement that deals already with a level of suffering and wanting to get things to be polished, right? But you may not always feel like you're a winner with this placement. And that is your Mars triggering you into something even better. So when you have Mars in Virgo and you're feeling defeated, or Mars in the sixth house and you're feeling defeated, you might often just feel like someone else's work is better than yours. Right? And a lot of people will go off of superficial things like, oh, they've got more money than me. They have more resources than me. They have better outfits than me. They have a team behind them, or a better team than me, right? There may be more superficial things that lead you to defeat. It's your work ethic. It is in doing the work. It's not just in writing the list, but it's checking off the list. It's not just in planning the day, but it's getting 70% of the day that you had planned actually done. In recognizing it is these minimal things that happen over days, over time, and recognizing that is what is going to lead you to your win is so essential. One of the things that I really picked up in harnessing and interpreting this energy specifically is the ideas of hunger, but even more so thirsty. And it's really interesting because, Virgo sixth house is opposite to Pisces, which is a water sign, but Mars in Virgo is 6th house. I feel like this is an energy that allows itself to be thirsty. So it lives a little bit in its disharmony, but when it really starts to shift the movement towards the things it's supposed to, it is a level of fulfillment and a level of anticipation or thirstiness that starts to kind of find a happy place, because it doesn't feel good to be thirsty. It doesn't feel good to want things. When you're doing the excellence, you start to realize that the things that we're thirsty for, the things that we're desperate for, when we finally get them, it's still not what we thought it was. It probably required still a lot of courage, still a lot of awkwardness. It still required all of those things. So this mirage that people put on achieving things, right? In the 6th house, we learned, especially through Mars, that it's not all that it's cut out to be. The outcome isn't as important as what quality of doing and quality of routines and fulfillment of the day being done. It's those intricate steps. It's taking each step to the top that really becomes a true fulfillment here. So yes, you get what you want, but you start to lose that need to be thirsty for it. If anything, you're just thirsty for, or you're excited about it being complete, the work being done, being able to show somebody that you've done this beautiful organization, that you've completed 30 to 60 days of working out. Speaking of, Mars in your chart also is your sexual energy. It's how you enhance your libido, get sexier, work out. So my formulas for Mars in the 6th house or in Virgo is to actually, when it comes to dressing like your Mars, utilizing the Virgo Venus blueprint and dress like a Virgo. So what you would do is utilize actually more nude colors, brown colors, skin tone colors, because sometimes it's the mundane that actually is the most enticing with Mars here. You start to get this hot, plain Jane, girl next door vibe with your overall formulas. And along with that, you also want to consider Virgo being like the space where we are the tendons and connecting things and bridging things, very similar to Gemini. I think that Gemini and Virgo are similar because of Mercury, but Virgo works really well with walking routines, like long walking, or a 2-mile walk, something like that, or yoga. All of the earth signs do very well with walking. Pilates Princess Vibe 101, Mars and Virgo, or Mars in the 6th house. So that is your Mars blueprint. And you guys, there's so many formulas that I have cultivated, and I don't have them in all of the videos. So in order for you to really sink your teeth into it, check out the worksheets down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Mars in the 7th house or in Libra is a bit of a mind F, if you know what I'm saying, because Mars is completely flipped here in an arena that it typically doesn't know how to win, because in this arena, if Mars tried to win in its normal way, it would be seen as a predator, it would be seen as ugly and very offensive. So Mars in the 7th house and in Libra is learning how to walk on its heels. And this placement is really understanding its new finesse in winning, its new arena in winning, which is the shadow side of itself, its passivity. So Mars humbles itself in the 7th house and in Libra in order to win. And the word humble is something that, I think a lot of people don't like, because it makes you feel like it's beneath you, but humbling is actually a graceful grasp of reality, that nothing is above you and nothing is beneath you. Humbling has the word humanity in it. And with Mars in the 7th house and in Libra, you may often find yourself in constant oppositions and not wanting to make that confrontation because you really want to collaborate. You want to be the best collaborator, but often may be faced with opposition and be faced with your own anger issues and maybe even self-sabotage of certain partnerships and commitments. While at other times you may find yourself to be underneath very manipulative people and not knowing how to create your boundaries. So Mars here is in a fight for its life because it's completely mind flipped and fucked. It doesn't win by being aggressive and by pushing and being forceful. In fact, people may even make more fun of you if you do so with Mars in the seventh house and in Libra. You have to accept that you're fighting with your heels on, and it creates a whole different posture in you, which isn't weak. It's just different. And with that, you're able to initiate the way that you would like, but in this new finesse, in this new grace. And so this humbling is actually a gift for you. It is your winning ticket because you can see clearer through the space of the peacemaker instead of being the one who fights back and reacts back to whatever it is that it may be trying to confront you. You being the peacemaker actually sets you above it all and in your proper position as the most valuable player in the room because everyone needs you and not the other way around. And when Mars understands its placement here, it starts to understand the importance of fashion and how fashion is connected to Venus and the idea of peacemaking, and how you fashion yourself is really your style of that peacemaking, and your peacemaking is your warriorship. So you can fashion yourself however you like, literally, metaphorically, but it is in fashion and in styling of your mannerisms, of your poise, and of what you aesthetically choose to present creates a new version of you. Now, ultimately, some of the active things you are doing is wanting to be a collaborator, but instead of trying to be a collaborator and be featured and beg people to have you on or put you on, this placement now shifts its value when people are begging to have you put on. And that is actually the mental shift that can really start to purify a lot of the actions that aren't serving you, helping you to create actions that truly do serve you. Which ultimately in this placement, you are looking to create boundaries. Your actions are lawmaking and boundaries, and you're learning how to fashion and finesse your boundaries and your laws. It is in making more boundaries and laws that you're able to have that strength and kind of like armor of protection to connect to other people for longer commitments of time. And this is one of the secrets of this house. And Mars is really unlocking it for many people by Mars placements here. They unlock what true commitment looks like and devotion looks like, and how it shifts the wealth when you are able to understand that power that you have in this placement. So as a cheetah and you moving faster is to create those boundaries, is to create those laws. And part of your Mars formulas is also how you dress. So Mars in this placement, is very fashionable and symmetrical, usually working on more of the feminine colors like pinks and mauves, and wants to, showcase more of its intricate things like, its favorite pair of earrings or favorite necklace to wear. You almost kind of see yourself as a defense or a prosecutor in your fashion here if you're really evoking your Mars. And I'm talking about fashion because it's a fashion placement, but also you can dress like your Mars. So this is like really kind of hits it right in that spot with what I do here on the Venus Blueprint. But for this, your Mars energy is dressing like a Libra in your sexual profile and formulas. And also with that comes your fitness formulas, which, for this is really about one-on-one attention. So this is the perfect placement who should get personal trainers, because it really, having that one-on-one I'm telling you, this might change everything for you. Having that one-on-one attention for someone to invest in you, like a personal trainer with your Mars placement in the 7th or Libra, will shift your perspective of yourself for real, and make you see how somebody investing their energy into you is how that feels and looks like. So it can be definitely personal fitness trainers with Mars here. Other placements, it might be coach, like if it's like Jupiter here, it might be like a personal coach or something like that. So this placement is a lot of fun when you finally get it. And if you want to go through all of the formulas, which are in basically my Mars worksheets down below, you can get those, or you can book a personal session with me and have me look at your chart and the other aspects. Thank you so much. If you have Mars in the 8th house or Mars in Scorpio, this placement really comes from a space of nothingness, and it is through that speed that you're able to go faster. And when I say by that speed is that you're just so powerful that you override the concept that you're a victim, and you go beyond it so much to the point that you naturally see your power. This is Mars in its full thrust in this placement. Now, a lot of people who have this placement, Mars in the 8th house or Scorpio, may actually not go full thrust, right? There actually might be having emotional stagnancies that are holding you up. And the trigger, the superficial trigger, will be like what somebody else has. So like if somebody has a lot of cars, if someone has, a really beautiful outfit, if somebody has a lot of money, a lot of fans and followers, if whatever it is. Sometimes the trigger naturally here could just be that somebody is sexier than you, right? Because it's the house of our sexual power and powers and identities. So with this placement, you can get very lost in that. And so Mars's desires get thwarted off from its creation from nothingness into wanting what somebody else has. And so now it's wanting what somebody else has instead of focusing on the fact that it had nothing and what do I really want to have. And so there's this energy here that can be very much so a cheater to its own desires, kind of like thwarting you into another direction because you got distracted by something a little bit darker, a little bit more shadowy that you don't even know why. And you could find yourself kind of like lusting for it and losing complete focus on the fact that you were just once a creator creating something from nothing. Okay, so this is a big shift if you are able to like marinate on this. That happens here because what actually makes you go faster is going back to nothingness. Okay, it's remembering that nothingness is there, because this is basically the portal to the spiritual, right? And so this is a portal to the spiritual. I feel like the water houses are portals to the spiritual. So Mars here is recognizing that the material things that are outside of it, right, whether it's what you saw somebody have yesterday, what you see somebody have today, or what you think you might want tomorrow, aren't necessary. They're real, but that's not the real point. The real point is that you get to create from nothingness and to find what is the emotional, nourishing intimacy, therapy that you would need, and being able to resource that from your own inner trauma and turmoils where you were once a victim or where you were once in need of something with scarcity. There is a story of you once didn't have, right? But once you recognize that you're not a victim and you thrust yourself forward from nothingness, you actually, you have so much. That's what you realize. So this energy is, as you can see, very intense to interpret. The thing that quite often is the pattern here is that people can come out through the door, boom, with like success really quickly with Mars and Scorpio, Mars in the eighth house. Maybe they were young prodigies, or maybe they had like, a really good era or something like that was fantastic. It was just like the most exciting thing that they ever had. And sometimes they can get lost in that old space because this is emotional stagnancy. So they get very lost in that old era of them being, where they were once winning. Okay, right? Because this is Mars winning. And so they're lost in that first time success. But this energy is a regenerative energy, not a building energy as much, right? So the key in understanding this is that what you once succeeded on may not be what you're building on. You may have to go back to nothingness and recognize that. It's like this loop, or the cycle of life, where something, it reaches its peak and then it has its fall, and then you move on and you start from zero again, and you start over, and now you have another new success, a new peak to establish and pursue and enjoy and create from. So this placement really needs to get comfortable with the fact that it has all of the power to create starting from zero, right? And when you don't feel comfortable, that's when you will be triggered by other people having things that you want. You get very lost in the material and lose the true knowing of your own power, which you will feel the most powerful when you're not focused on anything but the fact that you are nothing, have nothing, and can start from nothing. That is going to give you like a refuel that you never realized you needed, because you're so focused on all the things you don't have, because you're seeing what everybody else has and what everybody else has won. So the key to winning here and to going faster is to get back to zero. And especially when you're in a succeeding space, and then you're in those falling elements where things are unraveling and it's coming to an end. You can enjoy that, but getting back to zero is going to probably be the most therapeutic. And then you'll be able to figure out what is that next therapeutic thing you're going to give out. You're going to regenerate from your own inner emotional sources of what you needed. That's going to be key for you here. Now, the actual fitness of this placement works really well in dark rooms, like fitness studios that have you in dark lighting instead of like the bright gyms with the bright lights. I mean, you can go there, but if you really want to get comfortable and committed, this might be the answer and really add the aesthetic that you need to be a part of it. The other thing is just the style of fitness can be very much so focused on basically getting sexy or doing sexy things like chair dancing, sensual dancing, or, just muscle toning in, the lower region, trying to get yourself as shapely as possible. These are things that are going to enhance you, because basically you're saying, this is Mars in the first house, but doubled, right? Because it has double the energy and it's also hidden. So the hidden intention is securing your sexiness through movement and fitness and whatever it is. And you might also be somebody that helps other people really tap into their own on your fitness journey. This happens a lot here, helping to empower others. And the fashion placement, right? So we can actually cultivate dressing like your Mars by utilizing the Venus blueprint. And so you want to dress like a Scorpio, right? So this would be energies of more darker colors, more layering in those darker colors, cloaks, jackets, more vampy looks that are going to bring out your Mars placement and help you find that frequency that kind of like initially gives you that energy, that aura of this Mars placement and the power behind this Mars placement. So darker colors are definitely it if you're working with your Mars, with it being in the 8th or in Scorpio. So if you guys would like to go further into this placement, check the formulas in the worksheets below or book a personal session with me. And in part 3, we're going to do a whole different theme with the last 4 placements for our Mars is how you win and how you make better decisions formulas.